back to my channel. My name is Rachel, that is the R in the RK Stumblingbear, and I'm a reader and a writer. And I am back to talk about my favorite sci-fi duologies. And I just have to say favorite because I didn't have 10, I have 7. Some of these duologies potentially could expand in the future, but as of right now, there's only 2, and I have heard no word that they are going to be expanded, so we're gonna go from there. And these are not ranked in any order. They are my 7 favorites. We're gonna start off with Littenverse by Nina Sipri. This is a very interesting duology that's set in a superstore similar to IKEA, where you have a lot of different furniture going around and people can wander. And in the first one, the main character has recently gotten out of a bad relationship with her girlfriend and they work in the same place. One of them actually changed their hours so they didn't have to see each other. And then a temporal rift opens up in the store and a grandma gets lost. And that's when the main character realizes, oh wait, there's things I don't know about this store, because she's informed that she's one of the people who get to go after this grandma. And guess who she's going with is her ex. Now this isn't a love story, it's just the dynamics of it. So it was fun to kind of get to see that. But then in 2, it's not a continuation of the first one. We're following a different character from the employees, someone who was only briefly mentioned in the first one, and he has a totally different connection to this store and sci-fi-ness. So I found it a very fun series, and I would love it if Nina Sipri wrote more, because I think this store has some more things to give us. Next I have the Monk and Robot duology by Becky Chambers. I don't think anybody can argue that the Monk and Robot series should be on a best duology. Becky Chambers is coming to approach new themes in a new way. In this, we have a utopian society where generations ago, the robots gained consciousness, decided they were going to stop working for the humans, told them they wanted to be left alone, and left into the wilderness. And the humans listened, and it created a society that doesn't need robots, and it created a society more based off of only using what they need. And we have a T-Monk sibling Dex who decides that want to go hear crickets in person, and so they go wandering off and meet Moscap, who is wandering in. Moscap is a robot, one of the first to decide to come check on the humans and generations. Now I think this first one, The Song for the Wild Built, hit and resonated more with me when I read it. It's just where I was at that point of time. Versus A Prayer for the Crown Shy, which is when they both come back from the wilderness together and Moscap actually gets to go ask humans, what is it you want? You can imagine, do any humans have the same answer to that? Probably not. That one resonated less with me, but I think it's just because it's a different emotional, rite of passage. I don't know how to describe it, that Dex is going through, and I've already gone through that, so I was just like, yeah, this one doesn't resonate as much. But they both are very cozy, and it's fun to get to see a world where, again, people care about one another. That doesn't mean you don't have grumpy people or, people don't have bad days, but it is very much a different society look. I then have Nigerians in Space, and this is by Deji Bryce Olukotun, and I hear no one ever talk about these books. I actually ended up reading after the flare before the first book, and I just really like the concept of, more countries are becoming space capable, and so they're reaching out and they're doing it, and after the flare, you have to be either Nigerian or Nigerian of Nigerian descent to work there. And so I think one of the characters we follow used to work for NASA, but now works for them. And they're working on building a space station that he never thinks he's going to see, but he's hoping maybe one day his daughter will. And then we actually meet the character from the first book, like halfway through. And so when I realized there was a first book, I went and read it, and yeah. In the first book, the main character, I don't remember his name, he works for NASA, and he's offered money to steal a moon rock, and he does. And then it's him going back to Africa and shenanigans happening from there as a bigger, like, world crisis. I don't like the character in the first book very much, but yeah, I don't know if he's necessarily meant to be likable. But I really like the second book. It's really good, and yeah, I would love to see more in this, added to this series, more what that looks like for them in space. But right now it's not. It's just a duology. Then I have the Texiclan series. This is by Arkady Martin. It starts off with a memory called Empire, and it follows Mahit, who is from a small system and this big empire, the Texiclan, and Mahit is now the new ambassador, and the old ambassador has died on their main planet under mysterious circumstances. So not only is she the new ambassador, it's also going to go and kind of figure out what happened. And in the second one, we follow Mahit again and one of her friends, following like a first alien contact experience. This first one I would say is more political sci-fi, and the second one is first contact. So we have a lot of conversations of colonization. What does that look like? You get a little bit of the colonizer point of view, and then also if you're not part of that main colonizer group, can you ever actually assimilate, even if you like that culture? Has some very interesting conversations. And Martine's writing is just very beautiful, lyrical. For me, it always kind of absorbs me in whatever I read by her. Next, I have the duology Who Fears Death by Nanedia Corfor. I realize she's coming out with some novellas that are like related, but I consider that a separate duology series, not this main one. But in this, I am counting the Book of Phoenix because I read it first, and due to what happens in the Book of Phoenix of why the world is the way it is when you get to Who Fears Death. And Who Fears Death follows, that's the main character's name, or what the main character's name means, and in this world is like African futurism. You see what it's like to live in Africa. You have this technology that kind of helps you. You get to see like the past's technology, so what kind of like we have now, and then as they're moving forward. Now with African futurism, you also get magic mixed in. And so Who Fears Death is able to work magic while being in this futuristic society at the same time. And it's kind of like a growing up story and realizing, are you who you are because of things that happened before you were born and your like ancestors past, or are you who you are because of the decisions you make? At least that's what I took from it. I then have the duology Our Lady of Endless Worlds by Lena Rather, and this series is Nuns in Space. It's I would say tangentially, a Catholic nunnery in a life ship going around in space, and they end up helping a society with a epidemic, a plague, which then actually puts them under the hot seat because it ends up somebody engineered this and wanted that society to die. And the second book does like have it opened up more, where I am hoping for a third, but at this moment I haven't heard anything. And this is also a novella series, so it is short. I would say if you're interested at all, go pick up the first one, because that will tell you if you're really interested. in this series, or in this duology. Something else I also liked in this series is you get the expression of faith in many different ways. Because like your main characters are nuns, but you get to see that they're all on their different faith journeys, and I like that. And then the last duology I'm going to talk about is Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is actually, you can argue that they're standalones in a shared universe because they're not in the same solar system. It's a bigger universe connected together, but they're like in different locations. But this one follows Kim and Janen, where they are forced into a political marriage. Janen is a recent widow, and Kim is like, whoa, his husband just died recently, too fast, but his grandmother, the Empress, is like, no, this is gonna happen. And it's a very sweet love story as well as a sci-fi story. The bigger sci-fi story is the bigger empire entity that doesn't actually control their government but has like an alliance with them, or an agreement, is there to find alien technology, and so the society has to say, here's everything we found. And if you try to hold something back, it messes up the process for everyone. While Kim and Janen are learning how to be spouses, different expectations, and Janen's last relationship was toxic. That is unfortunate, but you get to see how they navigate this. And then Ocean's Echo. I was listening to somebody else's review of this recently where they talked about this is more a sci-fi story with a romantic element, a romantic subplot, and I would agree with that. The romance is there, but it's not of equal weight. What's happening is more injustice and imbalance between people who have powers. But those are my favorite sci-fi duologies. I'd love to know if you've read any of these. Please let me know down below your thoughts. If you have any other sci-fi duologies to recommend to me, please let me know as well. Thank you and have a great day.